What's happening, news nerds? Back for some more news, are we, you cheeky little devils? Let's get right into it. Bish! A weasel has been stealing shoes at a Japanese daycare centre. According to Mainichi.jp, more than a dozen indoor shoes were stolen from a childcare facility in early November, and security cameras installed by police uncovered the culprit, who was, in fact, a weasel. Police who arrived on scene, who perhaps found the crime scene all too terrible, confirmed that a total of 15 individual shoes owned by 10 children were missing. Not only that, thieves struck again the next morning, and shoes once again were everywhere. And the shoes for 3 further children were gone. The Fukuoka Prefectural Police then installed cameras at the Nipper Centre and caught the criminal red-handed. Oh, it was a little weasel! Oh, loving shoes, loving life, having a wonderful time. Ow! Cameras caught the cheeky little scamp approaching the shoe cubby, then running away with a white shoe in about 10 seconds. A staff member at the facility said, "We were very worried, but now that we know that it was an animal, we are relieved." And the cops were equally surprised, saying, "We're relieved that the incident was not caused by a human, but this is the first case of its kind." The missing shoes have so far not been found, but the daycare centre has started putting an anti-weasel net over the shoe cubbies to prevent the continuation of this atrocious crime. You lot have double standards. When a weasel does it, it's cute, but when I do it from someone's room in a Dagenham travel lodge, I get a night in the cells and a restraining order from my ex-girlfriend. We all get nostalgic sometimes. Titanic music plays as a cruise ship lists over. According to Newsweek, the Explorer of the Seas was near Tenerife, the largest of Spain's Canary Islands, when it was rocked by an unexpected gust of wind. The wind made the ship tilt at a 45-degree angle, causing superficial damage and requiring the ship to dock so a passenger could seek medical assistance. Videos of the incident show furniture sliding across the deck, with passengers, quite understandably, running and screaming. And just at that moment of pure terror, the 1997 Celine Dion hit, released for the hit movie Titanic, blasted over the ship's speakers. One passenger told the local 10 news outlet that he thought the music was part of a special effect which accompanied the tilting of the ship. Ooh, one more thing about this new boat, Jeff. What about if it ever tilts over? We remind people about freezing in the Atlantic. Another passenger called Alvaro Pupo told 7 News Miami, "Out of nowhere, we start noticing it's rocking, and I see water sliding up the table, and that's when you see a whole bunch of plates going flying off. My food goes flying, chairs go flying, everyone's panicking, ice machine flies everywhere. It was just a crazy experience overall." But passengers have said that the captain and crew handled the situation well, but obviously not well enough to avoid that weather. After the incident, the Titanic cosplaying ship had to stop at Las Palmas. This was of course to offload the injured passenger. It then got delayed in Spain for a bit because of the storm, and then finally docked in Miami, probably much to the relief of the passengers on board. If that happened to me, I'd be first to the car deck to stove in a homeless artist. That way, when I lose grip of them and they sink into the deep after the door I've selected can't carry the 2 of us, I can get on with my main dream of being one of the first women to fly planes. Oh wait, that's just the plot of Die Hard. A child's incorrect gender on a birth certificate cannot be changed. According to The Guardian, a newborn baby girl will have to go through life with the wrong sex on her birth certificate after a registrar's error, which her parents have been told they cannot change. Grace Bingham and her partner Ewan Murray went to register their first child, who was born a female, at the Sutton-in-Ashfield registration office. It was then, after an apparent broken night's sleep, they failed to notice that the registrar had written the wrong sex on the certificate. This wasn't until after it had been submitted. Ewan said, "We were horrified. but assumed that as we saw the mistake just a few seconds after it had happened, correcting it would be an easy matter. But although the registrar apologised for her mistake, and the area manager also apologised, it turns out that birth certificates can't be changed. What? The General Register Office, who's big cheese in such matters, and the Home Office have both said that there's naught they can do. Although a little note can be written in the margin along the lines of saying this person is actually a girl. This is mental. Grace, the baby's mother, expressed dismay at this too, saying people reading a birth certificate might easily miss a tiny note in the margin, which means that Lilla could be regarded as a male when she applies for school, a passport, for jobs, for everything that she needs a full birth certificate for. The family have complained, obviously, and the registrar and the registrar's office even admitted responsibility. But it doesn't sound like either of them are arsed or able to do anything. Not only that, apparently another mother named Sarah Power also had a similar experience with the same registrar. She said the registrar read back all the details correctly, including that our daughter was female, and then asked us to check the spellings of the name. We checked the spelling, but not the gender, because the registrar had already said it to us correctly. It was only when we got outside the office door that we looked at the certificate and realised that our daughter had been registered as male. Sarah Power was, however, able to get a new corrected birth certificate thanks to some sort of special form. However, the Home Office have said that this is basically no longer an option, and not to do it anymore. Nice! So it's one mistake and the child's life is ruined. How unfair is that? It's like bringing your kid up to favour Yu-Gi-Oh over Pokemon. If they're going to get beaten up, they might as well get beaten up for something decent and cool as an adult. A cruise package has been released, which may help people escape the reality of a Trump presidency. According to The Guardian, the residential cruise line Villa V Residences announced in November that it was launching a programme to allow travellers to join its ship The Odyssey at any point as it traverses around the world for the next 7 years. The trip is expected to travel to 425 ports in 140 countries. Wait, there are 140 countries? And according to a company statement, will cost less than $40,000 a year. Cheap. The cruises are being offered in different packages, or with cheeky little names. The 1 year cruise is called the Escape from Reality, the 2 years is called the Midterm Selection, the 3 years is called Anywhere But Home, and the 4 years is called Skip Forward. Villa V CEO Mikael Pettersson told WFLA that although they put these packages together before the Foundation addict won the election, they could be a good option for those unhappy with the results, saying, "We feel we have a perfect product for those who said they'd leave the country if XYZ wins the election. Our community comes together through our passion for exploring the world in a very real way that goes far beyond politics. How very American to bury your head in the sand. Too much gun crime perhaps? It's the transgenders' fault. Not enough jobs. Oh, it's the immigrants, them pesky immigrants. And too much reproductive freedom. Let's all elect a rapist." An Australian marriage officiant turned out to be fake. According to abc.net.au, Will Cheeseman married a couple in Melbourne. However, it later turned out he wasn't and had been never licensed to do so, charging multiple couples between $700 and $1,000 for essentially a fake ceremony. After the bride of the couple needed to get her passport renewed and decided to change her surname, she contacted Births, Deaths and Marriages to get a copy of her marriage certificate. When that failed and they never got back to her, they started chasing down Will for answers. Not only that, at the same time she found out that 2 of her friends were also struggling to get copies of their marriage certificate, both of which had Will as their officiant. It was then when alarm bells rang, and at the suggestion of a friend, they looked him up on the list of registered civil celebrants. He wasn't there. When they confronted Will the next day, he told them that he'd been deregistered because he'd forgotten to pay his annual registration fee. It later became clear, though, that he had never been registered at all. The police investigation found Will had enrolled in celebrant training before the first wedding he agreed to officiate, but never finished the course, and although he did read the course materials, it was basically just the gist. Do you two want to marry? Legal words, legal words, legal words. You're married. Good luck. Sergeant McLeod, speaking to Background Briefing, said he didn't tell them at any stage that he was not authorised to be a celebrant, and there was no stage where he was authorised to marry people. Although one of the couple has spoken to Will and they have said that he feels embarrassed and that he'll transfer the money back, it doesn't change the fact that they're not actually married. And all that cash on the wedding itself was for naught. The Australian Federal Police have arrested and charged Will with 4 counts of solemnisation of a marriage by an unauthorised person and 1 count of impersonation of a public official. He's pleaded guilty, been convicted, and handed a 6 months community corrections order. Whatever that is. How did he think that this was going to turn out? Sure, lie to your friends that you've lost weight due to diet and exercise instead of taking a Hollywood-style amount of Ozempic. But this, they're bound to find out. Unless, of course, he was hoping that they'd die together without noticing. I wonder if there was a group trip booked. An internet gamer calls out a French billionaire for a fight outside Lidl and gets his wish. According to Kotaku and Dexerto, after an angry ISP customer called out the majority shareholder of French internet giant Iliad SA for a fight outside a Marseille Lidl, the billionaire put his honour on the line and took a video of himself waiting for said fight outside the Lidl the angry customer requested. After a heated Call of Duty match, ex-user Jimmy BLLT called out the billionaire with this translated statement: "Xavier Neal, I hate you. I propose a 1v1 in front of the Lidl on Rue de Sante in Marseille." The original annoyance came from an apparent lag issue the man was seeing in Call of Duty, which probably caused him to get pwned to the nth degree. Do people still say pwned? What's that move where it looks like you're trying to dip your balls in their mouth? Most people would have left it at that. Anyway, mad lad Xavier caught wind of this challenge and decided to visit the Lidl in the challenge, take a video, and remark back at the challenger. In the video, he said, "I'm waiting for you. Where are you? Come on, do you want to meet in the car park?" Well, it turns out gamers aren't always as keen to fight in real life, with Jimmy BLLT declined to meet due to a stomach bug and a headache. In that case, honour is restored, I suppose. And Xavier, a name which is surely reserved for Bond villains and X-Men, can go back to stamping babies or whatever it is people with incredible amounts of wealth do for a living. Italy is offering $1 homes to Americans upset about the Trump presidency. Another Trump-related story, according to 6abc.com, following the 5th of November US presidential vote, Olioli in Sardinia, Italy, has launched a website aimed at would-be American expats, offering up more cheap homes in the hope that those upset by the result will rush to snap up one of its empty properties. On the website it reads, "Are you worn out by global politics? Looking to embrace a more balanced lifestyle whilst seeking new opportunities? It's time to start building your European escape in the stunning paradise of Sardinia." Well, I'm sold. What's the internet like? Mayor Francesco Colombo said that the website was specifically created to attract American voters in the wake of the presidential elections, and further said, "We really just want and will focus on Americans above all. We can't, of course, ban people from other countries to apply, but Americans will have a fast-track procedure. A whole town full of Americans. Might have to take a rain check on that one." Mayor Colombo says that the village is now offering 3 tiers of accommodation. The first one being free temporary homes to certain digital nomads. The second being €1 homes in need of renovations. And the third being ready-to-occupy houses for prices up to €100,000. Of course, we can't specifically mention the name of one US president who's got elected, but we all know that he's the one from whom many Americans want to get away from now and leave the country. They've so far gotten 38,000 requests for info, with most of those predictably coming from the United States of bad choices. Although Americans will be gutted when they get there, as since it's a depopulated town, the nearest Burger King is just under 2 hours away. Deal breaker, I reckon. Who are we kidding? Americans aren't going to buy houses in Italy. If the recent elections are anything to go by, they can't even write their own name on the passport form. Well, the ones in the middle bit anyway. If they're not roping a cow or pledging allegiance to the Confederacy, they're smashing the back doors in of their mum and or sister. They ain't got no time for writing or travel. A South Korean lad got intentionally fat to avoid military service. According to the Korea Herald, a 26-year-old man was found guilty of evading national service after he was found to have deliberately gained weight to avoid serving in the military. The Seoul East Dongbu District Court sentenced the defendant to 1 year in prison, suspended for 2 years. This was for violating the Military Service Act, which stipulates essentially if you try to evade your time, it's classed as a crime. And up to 3 years behind bars kind of crime. Apparently this mad lad deliberately gained weight by doubling the intake of his scram, and then also drinking a shitload of water right before the military examination. He managed to get to that weight by carefully following a reverse diet plan cooked up by his mate, who encouraged the action. This was all, of course, to try and get out of South Korea's 18-month military service. Or actually, by the sounds of it, get a less shooty role, like pen pushing. His mate was also sentenced to 6 months in prison, suspended for 2 years for helping him out. Shit! Although the helper denied the accusation by claiming that he never thought that his friend would go through with it. The court said it decided on a relatively lenient punishment for the defendant and his friend, pointing out that they had no previous criminal convictions and that the defendant acknowledged his wrongdoing and vowed to sincerely serve his military duty. I wonder if subconsciously I'm eating my way into oblivion to avoid an upcoming draft. You'd have to be like irredeemably large though. Oh well, here's to my current New Year's resolution. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, you know what to do. Also, if you want to watch more, click here.